I learned early that silence can be louder than shouting, especially in a city that never waits for anyone to catch up. On that Friday evening, the sidewalks were packed with people chasing dinner plans and second chances, and I was walking beside a man I trusted with both. The neon lights bounced off glass towers, and the smell of grilled burgers drifted from a corner diner. I remember thinking how ordinary everything felt. Ordinary can be dangerous. Jake had his hand in his jacket pocket, phone buzzing every few seconds. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. I noticed it, filed it away, told myself not to read into it. That habit had followed me for years. Don't ask too many questions. Don't rock the boat. Don't ruin a good thing. Trust, loyalty, patience. Those were the values my mother taught me, back when our apartment sat above a dry cleaner and the rent was always late. The restaurant was a popular downtown spot. Brick walls, long wooden tables, the kind of place people tagged online to prove they had a life. Jake had suggested it earlier that week, said his friends wanted to meet me properly. That word, properly, echoed in my head as we stepped inside. I smoothed my dress, checked my reflection in the dark window, and followed him. At the table were familiar faces from past parties and game nights. Ryan leaned back with a beer, always loud, always sure of himself. Chris was scrolling through his phone, half present, half elsewhere. Lily waved at me, polite smile, eyes sharp like she was measuring something. There were others too. Co-workers, friends of friends, the usual mix you get in a city where everyone knows everyone through someone else. I took my seat, ordered a cheeseburger and fries. Extra ketchup, comfort food. Jake ordered the same, joked that we were predictable. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, even though something in my chest felt tight. I told myself it was hunger. Conversation rolled across the table like a ball no one wanted to drop. Work stress, rent hikes, traffic, weekend plans. I added comments where I could, nodded where I couldn't. Jake barely looked at me. He leaned toward Ryan, whispered things, laughed in a way I hadn't heard in months. That laugh used to be mine. A memory slipped in without warning. Jake and I on a fire escape last summer, sharing cold pizza at midnight, talking about moving in together. He had said he loved how real I was, how I didn't pretend. I held onto that memory like proof, like a contract signed in good faith. The server brought drinks. Glasses clinked. Someone made a joke about relationships. Ryan raised an eyebrow at Jake and asked how things were going with us. Jake shrugged, casual to casual. The shrug landed wrong. My stomach turned, but I smiled anyway. This is how betrayal starts, I would realize later. Not with shouting or drama, but with small signals you choose to ignore because facing them feels worse than staying comfortable. Pride tells you to stand tall. Fear tells you to sit still. I listened to fear. As the night stretched on, I felt myself fading at the table. The city noise outside seemed louder than the voices around me. I checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls. I wondered why I felt like a guest in my own relationship. Jake finally looked at me, really looked, like he was deciding something. His eyes held a strange mix of confidence and distance. I didn't know it yet, but that look was a warning. A fork paused midair. A laugh died halfway out of someone's mouth. The moment leaned forward, waiting. I wish I could say I stood up then, said something brave, changed the story before it broke me. But real life doesn't work that way. Real life lets you sit there, heart racing, unaware that the worst part hasn't happened yet. And when it does, it changes how to see yourself forever. That night was only the beginning, a slow burn of truth, regret, and awakening that the city would soon witness closely. The waiter returned with our food, setting plates down with the same practiced smile he'd given every table that night. Fries steamed, burgers stacked high, everything warm and inviting. I thanked him, even though my appetite had already begun to fade. Jake didn't say a word. He reached for his drink, took a long swallow, and leaned back like he was settling in for a show. The conversation shifted again, this time toward memories. Old stories, inside jokes I wasn't part of. Ryan brought up a college trip Jake had taken years ago, laughing about how fearless he'd been back then. Chris added details, exaggerating, turning Jake into someone larger than life. Everyone laughed. Jake loved it. I watched his shoulders loosen, his confidence grow with every compliment. I remembered when that confidence had first pulled me in. We met at a street fair, standing in line for hot dogs, arguing about whether mustard ruined everything. He'd laughed at my stubbornness, said he liked that I knew what I wanted. That night, we walked for hours, talking about dreams, about escaping jobs that drained us. He had listened then, really listened. Back at the table, Lily studied me with quiet curiosity. Her eyes flicked from my face to Jake, then back again. I couldn't tell if she felt sorry for me or if she was waiting for something to happen. That uncertainty made my skin prickle. Ryan nudged Jake with his elbow. "Man, you always land on your feet," he said. Even now, Jake smirked. "Yeah, I don't settle." The words landed heavy. I stared at my plate, pretending to focus on my fries. My pride told me to ask what he meant. My fear told me not to invite trouble in front of his friends. I chewed slowly, tasting nothing. A flashback hit hard. Jake, on my couch, after losing his job last winter, head in his hands, voice shaking. I'd paid his phone bill that month without telling him. I'd told him we'd figure it out together. Loyalty isn't loud. It shows up quietly, again and again. Ryan laughed again, louder this time. "So, what's the plan with you two?" he asked, moving in. "Ring shopping." The table went still. I felt every heartbeat. I glanced at Jake, searching his face for something familiar, something kind. He didn't look at me. Instead, he rolled his shoulders and said, "I haven't really thought that far." My chest tightened. We had talked about it. Late nights, whispered plans, shared calendars. Or so I thought. Lily cleared her throat. "She seems great," she said, nodding toward me. Jake tilted his head, studying me like an object under bad lighting. That look again. Calculating, detached. "Well," he said slowly, "great is subjective." A few people laughed, unsure. I forced a smile, my cheeks burning. The city noise outside pressed against the windows, sirens cutting through the moment like blades. I felt exposed, like everyone could see the doubt spreading through me. I reached for my drink, hands shaking slightly. I told myself not to overreact. Don't be dramatic. Don't embarrass yourself. Years of conditioning wrapped around me like a tight coat. But something had shifted. The energy at the table had changed, and I wasn't imagining it. Chris finally looked up from his phone, sensing tension. Ryan leaned forward, curious now, entertained. Jake's phone buzzed again. He checked it, smiled to himself, then placed it face down. That small action felt deliberate. Secretive. Another memory surfaced, uninvited. Jake telling me he hated public scenes, that he preferred honesty in private. I had respected that, trusted it. I didn't know then that honesty can be selective, used when it benefits the one holding it. The waiter passed by again, asking if everything tasted good. Everyone nodded. Jake didn't answer. He was still watching me, eyes cool, waiting for what? I didn't know yet. but deep down, a quiet voice whispered that whatever came next would not be gentle, and it would not be private. The air at the table felt thinner, like the room had lost oxygen without anyone noticing. I shifted in my chair, the wooden seat suddenly uncomfortable. Jake leaned forward, elbows on the table now, command in his posture. He looked relaxed in a way that made my stomach knot. This wasn't nerves. This was control. Ryan noticed it too. He grinned, sensing entertainment. "Come on, man," he said. "Don't leave us hanging." Jake tapped his fingers against his glass, slow and deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. Each sound landed like a countdown. I wanted to interrupt, to say something light, something that would redirect the moment. I opened my mouth, then closed it. The words stayed stuck in my throat. A flashback slid in, sharp and unwelcome. Jake last month, standing in my kitchen, telling me I should smile more around his friends, that I came off too serious. He said it like advice, like he was helping me. I had thanked him. That memory burned now. Jake finally spoke. "You ever notice," he said, "eyes still on me, how people get comfortable when they think they've locked something down?" The table went quiet. Chris raised his eyebrows. Lily stopped chewing. Jake continued. "Effort drops. Standards change. You stop trying." I felt heat rise up my neck. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice calm but tight. He smiled, thin and quick. "I'm just being honest." Honesty. That word again. It had always sounded noble to me. Now it felt sharp. Ryan chuckled. "Man's got a point," he said, glancing at me like I was part of the conversation instead of the subject. I swallowed. The city outside hummed, alive and indifferent. Somewhere, a bus hissed to a stop. Life kept moving. "Jake," I said, forcing steadiness, "if you have something to say, just say it." There it was, the line I would replay later, wondering if I'd sealed my own fate. Jake leaned back, crossing his arms. He scanned the table, then looked straight at me. His voice dropped, calm, measured. "I just think people should be realistic about who they are and what they bring to the table." My heart pounded. I felt small, but something inside me stiffened. Pride, maybe, or survival. "And what do you think I bring?" I asked. A pause stretched. "Too long." He laughed softly, like he couldn't believe the question. "Look," he said, "you're nice. You're loyal. You try. But let's not pretend you're turning heads when you walk into a room." The words didn't fully land yet, but the direction was clear. I heard a sharp inhale from Lily. Chris shifted in his seat. I stared at Jake, searching for any sign this was a joke gone wrong. His face stayed neutral. I thought about every time I'd stood up for him, every compromise, every moment I'd shrunk myself to fit his comfort. Trust isn't blind. It's built on repeated choices. I saw mine clearly now. Ryan laughed again. Awkward this time. "All right, man. That's enough," he said, though his eyes stayed bright with interest. Jake waved him off. "I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just tired of pretending. The word echoed. I wondered how long he'd been pretending to care. I felt something crack open in my chest, a mix of hurt and clarity. I could feel the weight of everyone watching me, waiting to see if I'd break, if I'd cry, if I'd make it easy. I straightened my back. "If you're unhappy," I said, "we can talk about it like adults." Jake shook his head. "That's the thing. I don't want to talk anymore." The waiter appeared again, sensing tension, but trained to ignore it. "Anything else I can get you?" he asked. "No," Jake said quickly. "We're good." The finality in his tone chilled me. I realized then that this wasn't a conversation. It was a performance. And I was the unwilling audience. Another memory surfaced, softer this time. My mother telling me that respect is louder than love. I hadn't understood it back then. Sitting there, under those lights, I finally did. Jake reached for his wallet, fingers brushing the table. The gesture felt symbolic, like he was preparing to close a chapter. I watched him, heart racing, knowing the worst was still ahead, hovering just out of reach. Jake stood up first, not abruptly, not angrily. He moved with calm confidence, like someone who had already rehearsed this moment in his head. He placed a few bills on the table, more than enough to cover his meal, maybe even mine. That detail stung more than it should have. It felt transactional, final. "I think we're done here," he said, not just to me, but to the table. My heart slammed against my ribs. I looked around, searching faces. Ryan avoided my eyes. Chris stared at his hands. Lily looked torn, like she wanted to say something, but didn't know how. Silence wrapped around us, thick and uncomfortable. "Done with dinner?" I asked, buying time. Jake looked down at me, ice cold now. "Done with us." The words hit harder than anything he'd said all night. I stood up slowly, legs unsteady. "You're breaking up with me, right now. Here." He shrugged. "It's better this way." "No confusion." "And the comments?" I asked. "The disrespect." He sighed, annoyed. "I called it like I see it. You're not exactly easy on the eyes, and I don't want to keep pretending." There, it was. Ugly. The word itself wasn't loud. He didn't shout it. He didn't need to. It sat there between us, sharp and undeniable. I felt every pair of eyes in the restaurant shift toward us. Forks paused. Conversations dipped. The city outside felt far away. For a second, my vision blurred. Not from tears, from shock. I had prepared myself for rejection before. I had not prepared myself for humiliation. "Jake," Lily said quietly, standing up. "That's not okay." He waved her off. "It's honesty. People can't handle honesty anymore." I laughed once. Short. Bitter. "You didn't need honesty," I said. "You needed an audience." That landed. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. Jake didn't respond. He turned, slung his jacket over his shoulder, and walked toward the door. No goodbye. No glance back. I stood there, frozen, the sound of the door closing echoing like a verdict. The waiter approached, eyes full of pity. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I nodded, even though I wasn't. Pride will make you lie when vulnerability feels too expensive. "I'll take care of the rest," I said, pulling out my card. My hand shook, but I held steady. As I walked out of the restaurant alone, the city swallowed me whole. Neon lights blurred. Traffic roared. I reached the corner and finally stopped. That was where I cried. Not pretty, not quietly, just raw, shaking breaths under a flickering streetlight while strangers passed by, pretending not to see. That night didn't just end a relationship. It rewrote how I saw myself. The weeks that followed were harder than the night itself. Pain is loud at first, then it becomes quiet, sneaky. It shows up in mirrors, in unanswered texts, in moments where you expect someone to be there, and they aren't. I replayed Jake's words every morning like a cruel alarm clock. Ugly. Not good enough. Replaceable. I stopped wearing color. I avoided social plans. I worked late just to stay distracted. Confidence drained out of me slowly, like a leak I didn't know how to fix. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. I ran into Lily. She was standing outside a coffee shop, near my office, holding two cups. When she saw me, her eyes softened. "I was hoping I'd see you," she said. We sat inside, the hum of conversation around us. She didn't rush. She didn't minimize what happened. "He's done this before," she said finally. "Different woman, different setting, same cruelty." I looked up sharply. "What?" "He humiliates people to feel powerful," she continued. "It's easier than facing his own failures." That was the first crack of light. Over the next months, I rebuilt slowly. Therapy, journaling, long walks through the city. I started dressing for myself again, laughing without checking who was watching, saying no without apologizing. Then the universe delivered its final twist. A mutual friend invited me to a downtown fundraiser months later. I almost declined. Almost. Jake was there, not confident, not admired. He stood alone near the bar, watching the room like it owed him something. When he saw me, his face changed. Surprise, then something else. Regret. He approached me cautiously. "You look different." I smiled. "I feel different." He cleared his throat. "I shouldn't have said what I said." "No," I replied calmly. "You shouldn't have believed it." He nodded, eyes dropping. For the first time, he looked small. I didn't stay long. I didn't need closure from him. I already had it. It took me a long time to understand this truth. People who try to destroy your confidence are terrified of your growth. That night in the restaurant didn't break me. It exposed what needed to leave my life. Jake didn't take my worth with him when he walked out. He only revealed that he never had it to begin with. Today, when I walk through the city, I hold my head higher. Not because I'm perfect, but because I know who I am. I am loyal. I am strong. I am enough. And anyone who needs to humiliate someone to feel powerful will always lose in the end. Because confidence rebuilt from pain. That kind of beauty can't be taken away.